Should have something. Whoa.
Kick us off. Good morning. Welcome back to First World Third Rails. Your host, Mayhem, Marlon, Mr. Disruptive. My partner in crime, J.D. Wilson Jr., a.k.a. J.D. How you doing, partner?
Top of the world to you.
Top of the world, top of the week to you. Coming to you from Seattle, waterfront today.
Oh, okay. Let's see what we got here.
Got the Ferris wheel.
Ferris
got the
wheel.
Skyline. Fiber Cloud, who I used to work for somewhere over in there. Woo! How you doing, partner?
Fine, thanks.
As you know, before we came on air, I'm doing good. I'm coming off my infamous Charles Barkley Jr. impersonation at Top Golf in Renton this weekend at a birthday
It's pretty convincing, I have to tell you.
It's birthday mania. My better half is birthdayed out right now, man. And that was 3 days in a row for her. Her sister, her best friend, Carl. I'm coming up this week. Her other sister this week. July is one of those months, man. I want to kick us off today, other than birthdays and the Ferris wheel downtown Seattle. I want to kick us off today with something that I'm sure you and everybody out there, all two listeners of ours,
Up to two.
Up to two now, are probably well aware of, but it's worth celebrating, even though people are starting to get wind. Jack Smith has sent a target letter to the Orange Mango. Why is that significant news?
Yeah, why is it? I mean, wasn't he already named in the indictment?
Yes, but this is a target letter to the January 6th investigation.
Oh, that I did not know. That happened recently then.
This morning. Well, actually, it happened on Sunday. The monstrosity Mango took a day to release his True Social rant about it. But everyone that is talking about this or tweeting about this or spouting about this is uniform in one aspect. As part of the process, typically, and we expect to be, in this case, to be typical, what follows the target letter is an indictment, an arrest.
So I'm catching up to you, and in the same precedence vein, Jack Smith did not tell us. Donald Trump told us that he received
a
letter from special counsel,
a target letter from special counsel
stating that he is a target. Jack Smith has said they've made no comment whatsoever. So presumably it's true.
Oh, it is very true. It is very true. And following that letter is typical indictment and arrest.
Trump received a similar letter prior to being charged last month in a separate investigation.
Yep.
All right. So golf clap. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I probably would have been aware of it if Jack Smith or his entourage had made an announcement. Then I would have been aware of it. But
of course,
if Trump is making the announcement, I'm not.
You're not going to be. You're not going to be.
I'm not going to see that. Wow, it's considered to be a. It's considered to be moderately factual, but it's not considered factual outright.
What do you mean? What's not considered?
Well, again, I mean, Trump has so deranged every aspect of our existence.
Here's
that he is the one who has told us, and so we're presuming that is true. But technically, there's been no official notification that he has received said target letter. It's just from Trump. But like I said, everybody's treating it as relatively truthful, but it's absolutely unsupported.
At this moment, yes, but I take it as factual, and here's why.
Yeah, I
This,
don't think there's a huge conversation behind this. I'm
no,
just saying that
no.
it's an interesting commentary on where we are.
It's I take it as factual because this is his playbook. When this happens, he plays the victim. And he wouldn't play the victim if this hadn't happened. This happened. Now he's playing the victim and trying to get out in front of it. He's not going to get out in front of this.
Well,
He's
think
got
about
4
it.
days.
Our dependence is on an irrational, pathetic, disgusting human being.
He's got
And
4 days.
that's the phenomena that I'm talking about. It's interesting to ponder that the news today comes to us from an absolute lying sacrifice.
Yeah, but he's not the only one. And
Oh,
I'm just
I dig. It's just what I'm saying is this is completely different than the way things normally go.
right. I'm just trying to find trying to find it. Sorry, I apologize. I'm trying to deviate
Okay,
on the
nobody's
fly.
watching. Nobody cares.
Yeah. um, I can't find. I was looking under Scott McFarlane's feed, who has been following all of that extremely closely. Because I thought I saw a tweet in there that confirmed that has happened, and he has 4 days now to report.
Oh, is that the standard operating procedure? 4 days?
Yes, to report to the grand jury.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm really enjoying is this whole push-pull on the documents case, of which I'm sure you're well aware. And that is that if the lawyers attempt to delay the proceedings in order to get the requisite security clearances, by inference, they are saying these documents have not been declassified.
Yep.
So they're in a curious conundrum, which you have Trump walking around saying they're all declassified. And if that were true, then his lawyers would be like, well, they're all declassified. So they're literally reading off both sides of the same piece of paper right now.
Yep.
And I don't know that Jack Smith and his entourage back in, the beginning of the year, like, okay, if we set this piece in motion, we're going to see this result. I think they're probably just doing it by the book, and the net effect is it comes into view. So like, oh, I think we can anticipate this, but boy, that is pretty good gamesmanship legally. If you're like, I'm going to architect this situation 8 months in the future, and it's here now. So I wonder, there's no way to know, but it appears that Eileen Cannon is not being as obstructionist as was anticipated. So she may have had somebody like her dad. Her dad is like, Eileen, honey, listen, you took a shot. I understand it, but here's the net effect looking out over the next 4 decades. You're going to become a pariah. So somebody may have said to her, when you started off, you were intent on
Protecting him.
Yeah. Well, no. She didn't know Trump from a hole in the ground when she started to get her law degree.
Okay.
So I'm saying that there are all kinds of things that happen to people in positions of authority, whether they're politicians or in this case, a judge. So there was something about the sequence of events when it came before her that moved her to basically protect him. That was the first time. And she, what do they call it? Reaping the whirlwind. In other words, she just got flattened. So she must have gone through and just made a cost benefit decision. Do I want to continue to get flattened and then removed from the case sometime mid-September? Or do I just go back to what I originally intended to do, which I intended to be a good judge who was well respected in, in the community. So she may have just done the calculation this time when she ran it. Now that she had more information, she realized she wouldn't be able to just make these pronouncements and they would automatically hew her way. I think she's reconsidered. So she may or may not be an actual, I don't know if she'll be an asset, but at least she's not a liability.
We'll see. We'll see.
She reacted very strongly to all of these attempts by the Trump team to delay it. And one of the things she actually called out is she said, listen, the Department of Justice gave us very specific reasons why they're requesting these things. There was a word for it, it was prerequisites or something. There's some type of specific phrase that indicated that they needed to actually support their request with specific reasons. They couldn't just make the request to move it out past the election. They needed to actually provide arguments. And so the only argument they would have is that Trump is too busy combing his hair. I mean, that's really the only one they've got. Your Honor, I'm too busy combing my hair to actually come to court.
Right, right.
And I think he's busy. I think he's losing hair. That is going to be a magical day when he starts to, because he's taking Propecia. And I think he must be taking some other types of
I wish he would take the purple Kool-Aid. He's
losing hair. It doesn't matter. He's losing hair.
I don't care about his hair. I've reminded Roland Martin.
That's because you've moved past that. If you're a guy, like I happen to have 426 hairs on my head, I know the number.
Right.
So before you make that decision to just, you're still like, oh, I hope I can keep my hair. So his hair is a big deal.
Yeah,
How bad if he was bald, he wouldn't be able to talk.
I cut that loose 40 years ago.
Exactly. You're, how do you say over it?
Way past over it. I'm looking at a tweet that says, whoever tweeted this, Greg Kelly, USA. You must be a USA Today reporter. Is USA Today still around, the paper?
Oh God, yes.
Elon Musk is
They are not centrist. They were right of center.
Elon Musk is looking at buying Fox News.
Oh my God, that'd be magical.
No, it would be a toilet.
No, it would be absolutely magical.
It would be a toilet.
Oh, come on. Twitter's gone in the crapper since he bought it, so I'm assuming Fox would go in the crapper.
It already is in the crapper.
All right. Well, one of the things that you and I go around and around on, I actually think it's a legitimate discussion, is since I fundamentally don't believe or do believe, what do I believe? Okay. What I believe fundamentally is that we cannot change the behaviors of Elon Musk and the folks.
No, you can't, because he's a billionaire. You don't change the behavior of billionaires.
If you come to me and you say there's nothing that you can do to change their behavior, what's your next move? I would say, well, my next move is I just want them to be transparent, and I want it to be obvious what they're hoping to achieve. So this is the whole exposition.
What good does that do?
So it does a lot of good. If they're going to be there, you just want them visible. So I think it's good to concentrate it, and all of these hotheads will find strength in numbers, and they'll start doing things like they've started doing, which is we want a permanent white majority. I mean, we talked about this a long time ago, and you basically helped me not be so vitriolic about it. But you remember, I was really vitriolic. I'm like, inside every white person beats the heart of a racist, and their mind has to get in front of their instincts, because their instincts were baked into them with imagery and sounds and avoidance. In other words, if you're a normal child and your parents
aren't racist,
and your parents are racist, but they don't say, oh honey, we're racist. But there's a circumstance where you go by a white person, nothing, another white person, nothing, a black person, some minor adjustment, and the child is busy collecting information that they cannot yet catalog. No, that's the basic premise with childhood is you're collecting information. You don't have a bibliography yet. You haven't put it into little drawers and called it anything. You don't call it dogma. You don't call it religion. You don't call it politics, but you observe these things. And so in my time, every single image that I got was somehow, I'm going to say this on purpose, it was colored. In other words, we didn't see as many people of color, whether it was Hispanic or Black, or they just weren't there. They just weren't there.
Right.
And if something is just not there, you're like, well, it matters less. Although as a child, if somebody said, what are you thinking right now? You'd be like, I'm not sure what I'm thinking, but my subconscious is registering that I'm so important that nothing else matters. And so that's the programming.
That's if you're
that's what you're seeing now. That's what you're seeing now with white people who are not calling out Trump. And that's why the GOP,
that's
the
a
GOP is actually MAGA now.
That's a percentage. Not every white family has operated and programmed
We do
that
this
way.
all of the time, and we make the same point, but from different perspectives. I'm saying that every single white person who was raised. I'm saying every single.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
It's immaterial whether I'm right or wrong. These are opinions.
No, it's very material. It's very material. You're wrong. Not every white family was raised that way. No, you're wrong.
That's fair. That's fair.
Now,
white families weren't dictating what was on television. They weren't dictating what was in the paper. They weren't dictating what neighborhood you lived in. In other words, all of these things conspire. And that's why people are like, what the fuck is wrong with the GOP, with Republicans right now? And this is the answer. The answer is they are sympathetically racist. They're like, I'm going to sit on the sideline and see if I get mine.
But that's a percentage. That's a percentage.
That's
and
fine.
We all know what that percentage is.
No, you're saying it's 38. And I'm saying that the racism is present in everybody.
There's prejudices present in everybody. Racism is not present in everybody. Everybody has a level and degree of prejudice.
Okay, I'll switch it. I'll switch it to prejudice. That's fine.
But not everybody has a degree or level of racism. That's very, very different.
A lot of people have reconciled it and have put their mind in front of their instincts. I'm saying that the base instincts, if you're coming from a Middle Eastern country, your base instincts will be predicated on Islam. Right? If you're coming from India, your base instincts will be predicated on the religion that you're a part of, or the sect that you're a part of. One of the big issues in India is class, and people have trouble actually behaving independent of their class. And then when they choose to behave independent of their class, there are other invisible forces that keep them from expressing themselves fully. This is what I'm saying. I'm saying that right now, the reason that the conservatives are paralyzed is because they're struggling with these inner instincts, of which they are fully aware, and which some percentage of them are ashamed of, and some percentage are not.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So you would have somebody who recognizes prejudice in themselves, and they are or are not taking steps to mitigate it and evolve themselves.
38% is not. Hopefully the
38% has clearly identified. But if you caught them and you said, are you racist? They would say no.
Of course they would.
The reason they would say no is because there's something else.
No, there is nothing else.
No, they think that racism would be a constant, a decision on their part to dislike somebody. It's not. Racism is when you consider yourself superior. And that's where I come up with entitlement.
Yes.
So that 38% intrinsically consider themselves superior, and they consider all other races.
But why do they consider themselves superior? Because they're
that's
white.
The way they were raised. That's their whole existence.
Because they're white. No other reason.
Okay, I'm going to go with your explanation.
There's no other reason.
We're saying the same thing, but somebody somewhere simply has to articulate exactly why it is that the Republican Party is behaving this way. And big chunks of it are just saying nothing. They're waiting to see how it turns out. Can we gerrymander blacks out of existence? Can we get Hispanics all deported? Can we stop allowing Muslims into the country? Will the Jews eventually grow weary and return to Israel? In other words, there are a lot of people just waiting passively for bad things to happen to constituents of our population who are unsupported, and they want to leave them unsupported so that they're taxed and forced, first of all, into positions where they can't take our houses or come into our neighborhoods. That's what's going on. That's what all this passivity is. It's waiting to see what the outcome will be.
Pathetic.
Yes. All right. So once again, we're in complete agreement. It is pathetic. It's embarrassing.
It is.
It is truly embarrassing.
Now, I reminded Roland Martin and Bakari Sellers, both have been analysts politically on CNN.
Right.
Both are activists to some level and degree. Both are a voice for those like me who speak for those who can't. I've reminded them, and I went to it this morning in my tweet to Bakari Sellers. I should pull it up. I reminded him, this is why Colin Kaepernick took the knee, because Bakari reminded everybody in his tweet, stay focused, do not take your eye off the prize. He can still function as president from a jail cell. And I reminded Bakari, this is why Colin Kaepernick took a knee. Because a felon cannot.
Colin Kaepernick could have functioned from a jail cell. In other words, it's written into the Constitution.
A felon cannot vote for this idiot.
We've been through this 100 times.
But he can run as president. He can be president.
This is not a Colin Kaepernick issue.
No, but that's why he took the knee. The system is broken.
I'll grant you that, because you're doing the entire system, not just the black-white divide.
Right. The system.
The whole thing is just screwed up.
It's broken.
Well, in this case, the Constitution is screwed up.
Yes. He should not be eligible to hold that office if, as a felon, you can't even vote. Nothing sets me in the red more than that issue right there. Right there.
Well, it can.
How in God's name?
But the same types of very specific laws that are going to get him convicted are the ones that apply here. So there are laws which are embedded in the Constitution that say you can serve as a felon. You can't vote.
But you can't vote, and that is broken.
You for some reason that I don't understand, you put so much emphasis on that. There have only been 46 presidents.
Because there are people.
The Constitution governs aspects of the presidency
there
that
are
aren't
people
specific to any other aspect of.
There are people in this country, white, black, green, brown, whatever denomination and ethnicity you want to use, who have committed crimes, got arrested, gone to jail, done their time, have been released, and are not eligible to vote because they are a convicted felon. Now, I believe
it varies from state to state.
I don't know 140 of the 48 continental that allows a convicted felon to vote. Not one of the 48. Yet, he is eligible and allowed to be president?
You know, every time, this is just one of those things that I hear you, big guy, it doesn't hot me up. It's not.
It will, because you're not a black person. Because we lose our rights for far less.
The following is a list of the 23 states that allow convicted felons to vote. So there are 23 states that allow convicted felons to vote, which is a little less than half. Oh, and then the following is a list of the 25 states with more restrictive voting laws for felons. So it looks like felons can vote for sure in 23 states, and with other conditions.
I
And
would imagine those 23 states, the majority of them are red.
are red. Why would you say they're red?
Are they?
Alaska, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho,
Red, red, red,
Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, New Mexico, North
red,
Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina,
red,
South Dakota, Texas,
red,
Washington,
red.
West Virginia. Those are states that allow convicted felons to vote.
We're very progressive out here, so I understand that.
Okay, do you understand we just had a major disconnect? That was a
What?
list.
No, we didn't.
Yes, you're saying they're all red states. These red
No, I
states.
didn't say half or they're all. I said the majority of them, and the majority of them
Right.
are.
And so Republicans are allowing felons to vote.
And they're also allowing a felon to run for office.
Yes. We're not having an argument. In other words,
Hence, the system
I'm
is
just saying,
broken.
to me, what the Constitution says only applies to the presidency. It only applies to 46 people over the last 240 years. It stands alone. And it governs the circumstances under which you can run for the presidency and makes no mention of your current incarceration or legal status. You just have to be over 35 years of age, 14 years.
Well, it needs to be amended. It needs to be amended.
I'm not arguing with you on that, but what I'm saying is that there's a level of equivocation here that I don't think applies in any way, shape, or form, because you go to the reason that Trump can run for president is why Colin Kaepernick took a knee.
It
And I'm like,
is.
there's no connection.
The system is broken.
It's not
That's
the system, it's the Constitution specific to the president. There are only three conditions. And
our
if you do them,
our judicial system and process,
it's not the judicial system, it's the fucking Constitution.
which is part of the system.
No, it's not. There
It's
is
governed.
nobody who's gone in. There is only one black man could have gone into court and had issues with this. That would have been Barack Obama. It'd been the only one. Because no other black man has been going into court subject to the Constitution. This is not a judicial issue. Now, if you want to say there are elements of the Constitution that contribute materially to the hardship that you currently suffer, I'm going to agree with that. But as regards a felon running for federal office, it is governed, for presidency, it's governed exclusively by the Constitution, and it does not reflect some rot in our system. What it does reflect is a rot in us, because when they actually wrote this, obviously none of them ever imagined.
Which is why again, part and parcel, a knee was taken. We understand that.
You lose me, and I think that's a libtard move, because you're connecting things that aren't connected, and you lose altitude. Your statement is true. Your statement is Colin Kaepernick took a knee because of injustice in the system. Complete agreement. Over here is Trump can run as a felon, but that's not because of the justice system. That's because of the fucking Constitution. So when you're trying to elicit sympathy, you're trying to build a case.
What's the difference
around Trump running?
Are they both?
Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, to me, doesn't make any sense.
Are they both rules and processes? Yes. And they are both broken.
I'm going to abandon this and just say, I understand your.
Listen to me carefully. They are both fucking. They are both fucking broken.
I'll give you that. The Constitution.
So if you want to separate them out, separate them out. I'm telling you.
I didn't separate them out. They are separate.
Fine, they're separate. And I'm telling you, Colin Kaepernick took a knee because in both systems and processes, it's broken.
You know what?
This is what he is calling light to. Whether you, obviously, his focus laser was on the judicial process. It could have very easily been the Constitution. They're both processes. They're both laws that are governing us. And they are both disadvantaged to people of color. They're both
Argue
broken.
with somebody that I philosophically agree with. In other words, I'm splitting hairs and I need to just unsplit the hair because I
Unsplit the hair because it's broken.
yeah, because
Bottom line,
I can't do the verbal contortions to communicate the concept, but our underlying in keeping with tradition, we
I
completely
can slam the lid on it real easy. If Barack Obama had been convicted felon, do you think he would have been able to be eligible to be president of the United
absolutely
States?
yes.
No, he would not have.
Okay,
They would,
this is the disconnect, and this is where a lot of concepts lose
Republicans,
because you're like, we're going to be based in fact until we really want to make a point, and we're going to ignore facts. You're ignoring fucking facts. You posed a question. Your question was, could Barack Obama have run for president under the same circumstances that we currently have with President Trump?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Here's why it's a no. Here's why you are wrong and I am right, and it's a firm 100% no. Republicans, you know this, would have marched to the fucking House of Representatives and Senate and changed the Constitution on the fucking fly.
They would have, huh?
Yes, they would have.
Huh.
They damn near did that with Hillary Clinton. The problem is Hillary didn't do anything. Except if you want to believe there were some emails on servers somewhere.
Nothing happened to Hillary.
No.
She ran for president. She went through the Benghazi bullshit.
They
she
wanted
ran for president essentially under the exact same conditions that Trump.
If Republicans had their way, they would have incarcerated her. And
they didn't. They couldn't because they had to follow the law.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Do you understand that you
what
have
I'm saying to you?
Everything you're doing here.
What I am saying.
The fundamentals are bad. The fundamentals they hold water no matter what.
What I am saying to you is, I will
You're not connecting things in a way that makes any fucking sense. You said, do you think Hillary would have been? And the answer is, yeah, she did. She was unindicted. They tried to bring charges against her. They weren't successful. They had something analogous to the January 6th committee. She ran for president and she lost because white people are like,
I started this whole soliloquy to you by saying, had Barack Obama been a convicted fucking felon, they would have marched to the fucking House and amended the Constitution. You know it. I know it. So stop with the bullshit.
Well, you know what? Let me say this about that. Power to them. Because they are more focused, and that might be the end result of all of this, is that conservatives and good old fucking white people are much more focused and deliberative than the rest of us. So power to them. If they're going to actually pull this off the way you're articulating, then power to them. In other words, we're here, we're dicking around, right? We can't fucking decide what we want to do. And he's getting away with it. So if that's the point that you're making, it's a valid point.
Yes.
And that goes back to why 70% of whites vote and 50% of blacks vote. We're more focused in terms of getting the shit that we want. So, I mean, if you're saying it's a backhanded compliment or you're just trying to be critical, the answer may be true. It might be true that Republicans will go get what the fuck they want. They'll gerrymander, they'll rig, they'll have alternate electors. They will do anything in their power.
Yes.
Okay. I think you should note that with respect because it's clearly producing results.
I don't know when you
while we don't convict anybody.
When you break rules and laws, I don't respect that.
Yeah, but the point is that they are focused on meeting their own objectives, which is to mitigate benefits. And it basically is just to subjugate everybody who's not white. And we're really focused. White people are really focused on that.
A percentage.
That's a fair statement. I'm going to agree with you. I am not focused
38 and those in power.
Right. I am not exerting myself to keep white people in positions of authority.
You are not. And you are in the majority of those who are not.
Right. But I understand white people because I are one.
and I am a black person, and I, as a black person, can tell you with absolute certainty, we feel and approach this the same way white people do.
Well, you know what? As a white person, I would tell you as a black person that the Colin Kaepernick, let me finish this because I'm going somewhere with it. The Colin Kaepernick sacrifice, and that's what it was. It was a
Yes, it
motherfucking
was.
sacrifice.
was.
He went to the Super Bowl, took a knee, and he went out of the league.
Yep.
So you could go through and do the detail. It doesn't fucking matter. It's like light is on, light is off. So the Colin Kaepernick sacrifice, to me, as a white person, is so great and so profound that it deserves to be concentrated on what the fuck it was for, which
Yes.
was injustice.
Yes.
But it was not the kind of thing that you throw at every single issue. It should be relative to police brutality, in my estimation, and it really makes the case there. But I don't think the Colin Kaepernick taking a knee addresses all the sins of our current society. I would not use it as, like, I wouldn't use it
I
as
bet you
salt
if you
and
were
sprinkle
to
on
talk, I
everything.
bet you
I'd
if
use
you were to, I bet you if we were to bring him on here on our podcast and interview him, he would tell you it fucking does.
If you're saying that
guarantee you-
injustice is pervasive, omnipresent, and governs all aspects of your existence,
Yes,
and that it
he
is
would fucking
helpful
for
to me as a
sure.
person and hard on you as a black
He
person,
would tell
I
you.
would agree.
He would tell you with absolute certainty. Yes.
I would also tell you that if I said, Mr. Kaepernick, when you took a knee, were you thinking about the concept of a felon?
No.
He'd say, no, that wasn't really
He
the
was very
focus of what I was
specific.
doing."
He was
And
very
that's all I'm
specific.
saying.
He was very specific to that, but he also knows running parallel to the justice system is the fact that we have a convicted felon. And if that person who is a convicted felon were a person of color, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
Okay, you keep doing that. You're like, if Barack Obama were in the same situation, could he run for office? And I'm telling you,
He
the answer
could,
is
but they
yes.
would have amended
Who is they?
those in power.
Yeah, but we hold the Senate, we hold the executive, we just don't hold the House of Representatives, and that's by 5 votes. 5 votes. So who is they? In other words, we have actually evolved.
The
Let's
majority
not
in the
pretend
Senate.
we're still. It is not. A lot of white people want to go back to Jim Crow. Actually, a lot of white people want other races to just depart. They just
Yes.
want them to leave. They haven't
Yes.
really thought through the logistics of how you would arrange this, but they just want them to leave. However, we're not there. By definition, we're not there. So when you say that the people in power, are you saying, let me see if I can catch up. Are you saying that the justice system confronted with, let's do it in parallel, confronted with precisely the same set of facts that we currently have with Trump, which is truly, it takes imagination to imagine Barack Obama doing what Trump, the asshole, has done. But let's just do it for purposes of discussion. Do you believe that at this point, Barack Obama would be fully incarcerated and the Constitution would have been changed?
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay, how would that have happened?
They have the majority in the Senate, do they not?
No, they don't have the majority in the Senate.
Yes,
and
they
don't
do.
control the executive. What's that?
Yes, they do.
Who's
The
that? No, they have the
Republicans-
majority in the House of Representatives by 5.
They hold a majority in the Senate.
No, the Democrats hold them. The Democrats, courtesy of Kamala Harris, who has voted 31 times.
You're right. I forgot about Kamala. You're right.
But the point is that you ask an open-ended question, which was, do you think if Barack Obama had been in the exact same situation that he would still be running for president? You've asked the same question 3 times, and every time I say yes.
And I'm saying no because
And I'm asking why you're saying no. Where would it have been different?
Because an amendment would have been voted into the
By who?
goddamn. those in power, which
But we're
includes,
in power. We are in power.
do you consider Joe Manchin a Democrat?
Listen.
And simple
Oh,
question.
you know what?
Simple
You know what?
question.
You know how you can make
Simple question. You still haven't
how
answered
you
my
can make
question.
your case. I know how you can make your case.
You
Let me
haven't answered my question.
no, I consider him a wandering soul. Hold on. You said something, and I want to actually make your point for you. And I'm going to disprove everything I have said, and I'm going to prove you right.
Go.
Because that's what friends do.
Go.
I'm assuming that the voting in the Senate and in the House of Representatives
Would go down party lines.
And you're saying it would go along racial lines.
Yes.
So you're saying because the majority is white.
Yes.
Can I say something? You won that argument.
By all means. By all means.
I can see that. I didn't. Well, I was asking
now,
you. I myself had to figure it out. But what you're saying makes perfect sense.
Does that not feed into why Colin Kaepernick kneeled on the field?
You got me. Well, why didn't you just explain it?
It took us a while to get.
It would be like the judge saying you need to explain the points you're making.
It took us a while to get there, but we got there.
Well, you know when it clicked, when it clicked, and I realized that we were
Joe Manchin.
No. You said, aren't they the majority in the Senate? And I know you know everything about who's the majority everywhere all the time.
Yes.
So I was like, what is he talking about? He knows. And that was when I was like, so
I want to,
because it's baked into me, but it's baked into you. So when you look at a body, I'm looking at the red and the blue. You're looking at the black and the white also.
Right. Because that's reality. That's the reality.
It is entirely possible that there would have been a constitutional amendment to keep a black man from seeking office again.
Ding, ding, ding. I want to pivot because I want to take us out at an hour. Exactly. I want to pivot now that I've won that argument. I want to pivot for a second. And I'm going to pivot to sports. And it's rare that I pivot to sports, but I want to do that.
Well, I know you want to pivot to sports all the time.
Well, today I do.
Okay. But your co-host is only marginally interested in sports.
I know, but I need to pivot there because there's a lot of noise. And I tried to explain this to my better half who knows less than sports about you do.
Whoa.
And she admits that. I love her for that because
actually I know quite a bit about sports.
It goes in one ear and out the other with her. But she was struggling to understand something. And it's why all the noise is out there. So for context, the deadline for NFL players to sign their franchise tag offer from their clubs, respectively, was 4 p.m. yesterday. There are 3 high-profile names who, the deadline to get a long-term contract done was 4 p.m. yesterday. Otherwise, you have to sign and play under your franchise tag offer. There are 3 high-profile names that fall into this discussion in the deadline yesterday.
Okay, so they did not sign?
I'll get to that. Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants, running back. Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders, running back. And Tony Pollard,
running back,
of the Dallas Cowboys, running back.
What have they not been watching the news?
Pollard is an outlier because Pollard has signed his franchise tag deal. So he will play under the $10.1 million franchise tag this year.
But he did not architect a long-term deal.
But he has not yet.
Johnson, Barkley, and Pollard did not architect a long-term deal in time, so they need to wait till next year.
Yes, but Saquon and Josh Jacobs have not signed their franchise offer, so they are ineligible to report to camp right now.
Because they don't have a contract to operate under.
because they don't have a contract. And everybody is up in arms as to, and I'm seeing from people who are paid to be a talking head, I'm seeing, in fact, it was Derrick Henry, running back of the Tennessee Titans, who said, why doesn't the NFL just eliminate this position then? And the reality of the NFL that I know is coming into focus for a lot of people behind us. And this is why I brought it up. The life expectancy of the average running back is less than 3 years, just over 3 years. So I understand running backs who are saying, I've got to do everything in my power to get as much as I can before. And this is why, I have friends, I won't name them, who have discarded the NFL because of the plantation ownership mindset that I'm going to use you, get everything I can out of you, then I'm going to toss you aside because I don't give a shit about you. That's kind of what
I think that's a fair bargain.
that's kind of what's happening here with running backs. What I didn't know, what became astonishingly known to me from all of this yesterday, is that the franchise tag level for running backs, which is $10.1 million right now, there are only two positions on the field lower: kicker and punter. This is how devalued running backs have become in the National Football League. Someone suggested that they need a union within the union to protect them.
Okay, so what's the number? What's the number? 10.1 million? Is that the franchise tag?
Yeah, that's the number.
So what you're saying is at 10.1 million, you devalue. That's just a bunch of crap. That's a bunch of crap.
Let me tell you something, dude.
If you look at how much money
let me tell you
would
something,
have been
dude.
able to make over a lifetime if they hadn't played football.
Let me tell you
They
something,
get to the
dude.
point where they make between $6 and $11
I hear
million
that bullshit. I
over
hear
a period
that.
of 3 to 5 years. That is a fucking great deal.
I hear that bullshit every single
How can
time.
that be bullshit?
I'll tell you how it can be bullshit. Why don't you put on a fucking pair of cleats?
Because I can't.
Why don't you?
Because I can't.
Put
you
on
keep
a
asking
fucking
a question.
helmet,
I keep answering it.
pair of cleats and some shoulder pads, and you step up into the A gap when Micah Parsons comes at you. And then you tell me if you think 10 million is.
That is a stupid fucking statement.
No, it isn't.
No,
it isn't.
It
isn't.
If I stepped into the A gap and I got hit by one of those guys,
you know who else made that statement?
Trying to decide what would snap.
You know who else made that statement?
Or my
you know
spine.
Who else?
I would die on the spot.
Yes, you would. You know who else made that statement?
But that's so meaningless. Why are you treating that as meaningful?
How?
You're like,
how is it meaningless?
I just suppose that JD should put on pads and die on the field, and then I'm going to ask him.
Yes, because if you think he should be grateful to get $10 million.
I didn't say he should be grateful. I'm saying that $10 million is a shit ton of money. So if you're talking about absolute versus relative, the guy who's sitting up in the B section is only going to make $84,000 this year, and you're making $10 million. What are you grousing about?
Do you know, does the guy in the B section have
this
to
is
go
all this is all academic, and this is one of the reasons that, as much as I love sports, a lot of it is like a perpetual motion machine. It's like sports gives us a chance to create conflict where none exists. You have market forces at play. Nobody's obligating them to sign these documents, which you've just proven. Nobody's obligating them to join these teams. Nobody's obligating them to enter the draft. They're doing it by choice. And then once they get into that, one of the reasons athletes love sports so much is because everything's crystal clear. Their value is crystal clear. Their time on the field is crystal clear. Everything has been already figured out before you arrive. The game is going to be this long. There's going to be this many quarters. There are going to be this many players, 53. It's all been figured out before you get there. It is the most transparent, fair situation you can possibly be in.
I hear this horse shit every time this discussion comes up.
if you want to say that the owners are taking too much money, that would apply across the board.
I'm not even talking
That's a
about the
separate
owners.
discussion.
I'm not even talking about the owners. I'm
What you're
talking
trying
about
to do is you're trying to say running backs are disadvantaged because only the punter and the kicker are lower. Well, that's because in high school, everybody wants to be the fucking running back.
no, everybody wants to be the quarterback. Listen,
Well, they can't do that either. The
every
team says that
time
I can't fill
this,
the A gap. They
every
can't play quarterback.
every time this horse shit comes up, I hear the same bullshit.
What is the
And
bullshit?
that is pure bullshit.
What
okay?
is it?
I'll throw it right back at, and you know who else is
I'm just
said,
asking, what's the
you know,
bullshit? Just like last time I was asking, what would have happened?
your philosophy and position about running backs earning $10 million. Listen, you know who else shares Marlon Taylor's view on this? Hall of Famer Steve Young.
I don't know what your view is.
That regardless of your position, if you're going to play this game in particular, get all the money you can for as long as you can.
No argument there.
And $10 million for someone who takes the level of punishment, no one takes more punishment, maybe linemen, other than running backs, to be this devalued in today's game is atrocious. You can argue my position all you want. It's fact. It's fact. And 10 million.
Opinion. It's opinion.
No, it's
go,
fact.
it's fact. It's
And
fact.
for all those,
it's opinion.
For all those horseshit people that have this opinion, I suggest the same thing that Steve Young suggests that I just suggested to you. Put on a pair of shoulder pads, get on the field.
Is there a specific reason why you think that has value?
Let me finish. Put on a pair of shoulder pads, cleats, and a helmet. Get in the backfield. Take on Micah Parsons coming off the edge, and you tell me if you think $10 million is too much money.
Well, it's not going to happen, so it's a non-starter. It's just not going to happen.
Steve Young said the same thing, that fans sit in the stands, and I've said this for years, fans sit in the stands and boo quarterbacks, you're trash, throw shit at them, talk shit about them. Take one single snap under center and come back and talk to me after you take that snap.
That is the stupidest fucking line of reasoning I have ever heard.
What's stupid is the noise coming from those who have no fucking idea what playing running back.
So you're saying that athletics, which has been honed over literally millions of games and has been refined at the highest level, starting with cricket and then going to football and then going to our football and then going to the NBA and the NHL, all of the rules that have now been in place for, in some cases, centuries. You're saying all of that contributes to a situation where people are not getting what they deserve. That's fucking
no. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
But you're saying in order to make my point, I need to bring somebody out of the stands and put them on the field. That's a bullshit point too. None of this actually holds any water.
If you just compared somebody making 10 million versus somebody making $84,000. $10 million is a shitload of money. Put on a pair of fucking pads.
Why do you keep saying that? I thought you were going to take us out. I'm
not
going to go through the dryer on this where you're like, put on a pair of pads. Put on a pair of pads. I can't do it. It doesn't fucking matter. It has no bearing on anything.
Put on a pair of pads and a helmet, take on Micah Parsons, and then come back and tell me if you think $10 million is too much money. You know what? You're not going to come back. You're not going to come back.
You know what? You succeeded.
You know what you're going to do? Let me tell you what you're going to do. Let me tell you what you're going to do.
I wish I could put on a pair of pads and go take my.
Let me tell you.
That would be just really
the solution to all
of this. And until I do that, we can't figure this out.
Let me tell you what you're going to do. You're going to put on those pads. You're going to put on those cleats. You're going to put on that helmet. You're going to take on 260-pound Micah Parsons, and you're going to come back and tell me $10 million ain't enough to do that. That's exactly what the fuck you're going to tell me.
So you're taking a theory and wrapping it in a projection based on an assumption. That sentence is nonsensical.
What I'm
It's fine on
doing,
sports talk radio, but this is
what
probably
I'm
the reason
doing,
I'm like, I like sports.
what
but
I'm doing
It's
is
all,
trying.
it's like a religious discussion.
What I'm trying to do is educate the casual fan who thinks money and says $10 million. That's a king's ransom. What are they complaining about? You have no idea the sacrifice for that $10 million. None. You have no idea the danger and peril to get $10 million at this level in this league.
All right. So the running back is
You have no
10.1 million.
idea what life is like at year 5 once he's washed up and used for that individual that got the $10 million a year going forward.
You know, if I had one play to get the $10 million, the $10.1 million, I would do it. And then I would hopefully recover through traction and I wouldn't actually die. And then I would have approximately a $6 million nest egg that would see me through the rest of my life.
Right.
Yes.
You would need it because you'd be physically hampered the rest of your
because
life.
I would, and hopefully I wouldn't be comatose. So running back is 10.1, a tight end is 11.36.
Yep.
Offensive linemen and defensive linemen are north of 15 now.
Yeah.
And speaking of Micah Parsons, the franchise tag is north of 20 million. So and let me ask you a question. I need you to bear with me on this because I'm not trying to incite a riot. I just want to ask you a question.
Sure.
So you're saying that 10.1 is not enough for a running back? That's what
I know. It's what the market dictates for running backs.
Okay. That's I like your way better. You're saying 10.1 million is what the market is currently dictating as the franchise tag for a running
backs.
That same market is saying it's $20.93 million for a linebacker.
Yes.
Okay, so which one of these is not right? The running back or the linebacker?
The running back.
Why?
Because
if it's wrong, the other one must be wrong. They're the same market forces. They're on the same team.
Different positions, though.
Are you about to make my point for me? I did you the favor last time.
Different positions.
They're different positions, however.
Yes.
Yeah, they're different positions. And this is an algorithm that's been worked out over hundreds of thousands of games.
Right.
I just said it. It's the market and it's different positions. So one of the two is wrong or they're both right.
One of the two is wrong. And the running back is wrong because there is
saying that if I say 2 + 2 = 4, and then I say 2 + 2 + 2 = 6,
there is no position. There is no position.
That's bullshit.
There is no. I'm just trying to educate you, man. You're not
educating me. You're making an absolutely absurd point
to somebody who doesn't understand.
Okay. You know what?
There is no position. There is
but I understand how amortization works. I understand how the market works. I understand how math works. I understand wins above replacement in baseball. Everybody understands these. Just because Steve Young, who says silly things every once in a while, why don't you go out and stand in the A or try to go through the A gap with Micah Parsons and see what you think?
There is no position.
Fucking nonsense.
There is no position in football.
And that's why sports, a lot of people are like, sports is just the same as.
I shouldn't have brought this up because you're not even letting me get my
point.
No,
you just told me that I didn't understand when
you don't. You don't.
I don't know what I don't give a fuck about what you understand. I understand the market value for a running back is 10.1 million.
And it's wrong.
But I don't know why it's wrong. You got to tell me why it's wrong.
I've been trying to tell you for the last 5 minutes.
You told me that I needed to go play football to understand why it's wrong. I
Yes.
admitted I can't do that. You set up a bridge too far. You're saying I can never understand unless I go out and get knocked unconscious on a
No,
football field.
no, I'm trying to help
Then
you.
tell me some other way that I can actually understand what you do.
For the last
gonna
5
reach into, like-
minutes, for the last 5 minutes, I've been trying to get out of my mouth. Running, there is no other fucking position in football that takes the physical toll than running back does. None in the NFL. This position by far takes the biggest physical toll of any other position in the game.
There is no other position in the game that benefits more from the natural athleticism that young men bring to the game. All they have to do is
I'm not
take the
talking about
handoff,
that.
and
I'm
the rest is instinct. It's different than a wide receiver. It can be very difficult to catch and to actually have a tactile sense for when the ball is coming from you. It's very different than a cornerback who has to master technique. It's very different than the people on the line who have to reach certain types of physical proportions, and that makes them a smaller subset. Running backs are literally a dime a dozen.
not arguing
That's
that.
why it's devalued.
No, it's devalued because they do not get paid what they are worth.
It is
Yes.
the least specialized position on the field.
Complete disagreement. Complete
Okay,
disagreement.
which other position?
If you were to,
Less
if you were to poll,
Now, I just want you to answer any question that I ask you.
if you were to poll 100 of the most knowledgeable, player or not,
If, every single
why won't you
response
let me
is,
finish?
if you were to do this theoretical thing, which is impossible,
Why won't
can't
you
just
let me
answer in your
finish?
own voice?
Why
Why
won't
can't
you-
you use your own
why won't
knowledge
you,
to
why
make
won't
a
you
point?
let me? I am using my knowledge. I'm telling you what
No,
I
you're doing
know.
a hypothetical about if
I'm
I
not
got some
doing a
100 people, which I
hypothetical.
can't
God
do.
damn it, I'm not doing a hypothetical. Shut the fuck up and let me talk. If you were to poll people who have played and actually know this game, and you ask them in a poll, 100 of them, who is the greatest NFL player you've ever seen, they would tell you running back. So that goes against what you just said. You
All right.
just said,
Are you saying Ezekiel Elliott is a greater football player than Dak Prescott?
I'm saying Jim Brown is.
Jim Brown is
Jim Brown is the answer to that.
athlete.
Jim Brown is the answer to that poll question.
No, running backs are a dime a dozen
Jim
because there are a
Brown
lot of
is-
young men who are outstanding athletes.
Jim Brown, let me
There are only
educate
very
you.
few who can throw the ball, people who can run.
Let me educate you.
Routes.
Jim Brown is the answer to that question.
So what you're saying, Jim Brown is the answer to the question why $10.1 million
No.
is not enough.
No.
That's
Jim
when
Brown
we
is
started all this.
Jim Brown is the answer to the question that you just made a major faux pas on, saying that running backs were not a special position, not specialized. If you were to poll 100 of the most knowledgeable people on the NFL and ask them who the greatest player the game has ever had, they would tell you it is a running back by the name of Jim Brown.
I'm not going to argue that because I don't think that that is even part of this conversation. It doesn't fucking
It's
matter.
all of this conversation.
Do you know who the greatest disciple of all time was? It was Jesus. Jesus wasn't the greatest. It has nothing to do with all the preachers who are
You
sprinkled
made a
around the globe.
statement.
In other words, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. All of the questions I'm asking you, you have no answers for except for hypothetical theoreticals. Go on the field and get squashed, and I'll assemble 100 people, and they'll tell you, and I'll tell you what they're all going to think.
I've answered them. I've told you why it's undervalued.
No, I'm telling you, you have not answered my question.
Yes, I have.
And I still believe that 10.1 million is a very, very good number for running backs.
You're wrong. You're wrong. And you're wrong because you're ignorant
Well,
of
you
the
know what?
situation.
You know who else is making a huge fucking mistake?
Who?
Saquon Barkley.
We'll see.
There is no way in the world I would offer him a 10.1 tender. I would do it for a year, but his long-term deal, I'm sure, was in the $8 million range for 3 to 4 years.
We'll see.
If you do wins above replacement, Saquon Barkley has been not there. He hasn't even fucking played.
Oh God.
He could not stay on the field.
He had 1 year where he was hurt. He had a
He's gotten hurt in 3 years.
He had a Pro Bowl year last year.
He had a Pro Bowl year after being useless. He was a great rookie. He was a great fifth year. Girl, you know it's true.
No, it's not true.
All right, so we have disagreed on everything.
The Giants were in the playoffs last year. Why?
Because Daniel Jones threw.
All right. I'm done. You just don't. You really don't know what you're talking about. We should go out because you don't know what you're talking about. You do not know what you're talking about here.
You know,
and I love
there's
you.
A fundamental difference between the.
I will
say to you, I'll say, I don't understand you. Could you back that up? What are you saying? I don't understand. I don't say you don't know what you're talking about. I say I don't think that's a valid argument. But you say to me all the time, like you don't know what you're talking about.
When I asked you that question,
not true, because the beauty of sports is that anybody can have a fucking opinion. So yeah, I do know what I'm talking about. Because
when I asked you that question and the first two words out of your mouth are Daniel Jones, you show me you do not know what you're talking about.
All right. I'm going to give you this. They had a new coach. His name was Brian Daboll.
Yes.
And their entire system benefited from his arrival. He was previously coaching Josh Allen. Saquon Barkley was available and he played well. I'm not saying he wasn't part of the equation, but I'm saying that if you came to me and you said, I want you to do a pie chart, I'm just going to do thirds. Daboll, Jones, Barkley. Yeah, he was part of it. But if you're looking for these open shut type things where it's like, you don't know what you're talking about, it's just not the case. It's just not the case.
Well, I tell you what, my friend, you want open and shut? You want open and shut?
Yeah, do me one. Just do me one open shut.
We'll revisit this discussion should Saquon Barkley hold out, and we'll see where the Giants are without Saquon.
That's a sports discussion, which is a fucking horseshit.
We will see where they are if he is not on that field. Because I know where they're going to be without him.
Who have they brought anybody? Did they draft anybody? They must have drafted a runner.
I'm sure they did. Well, I don't know if they drafted a runner. We're talking about Saquon.
They have at least 4 to 5 people in their running backs group.
We're talking about Saquon Barkley. We will see where the New York Giants are should he hold out.
Well, you know, there's precedence for this. McCaffrey went to the 49ers and materially altered the dynamics there. Right?
Yes.
And he had 2 down years. So Saquon Barkley could do the same thing that McCaffrey did.
Meaning what?
Meaning he could play another year. Saquon Barkley could play 2 years in a row, but he'll do it for another team. And he'll do it for about $7 million.
And the Giants won't make the playoffs. Daniel Jones is not taking.
Got rid of Galladay finally.
Daniel Jones is not taking the New York Giants to the playoffs without Saquon Barkley.
You know what? I'm not going to argue that because I don't know.
You can't argue that.
That is it's a 50-50 at least, or a 60-40. 60-40, they don't make it. I'm okay with that.
80-20.
I'm okay with 80-20 because you're the expert. But
you want to talk about precedents? I have precedents for this.
Namely,
Emmitt Smith.
You've been out in the A gap.
Emmitt Smith.
The A gap on Micah Parsons.
Emmitt Smith.
What about Emmitt Smith?
The Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there is precedent for every single thing that you want to do.
It's funny you never
a Simpsons episode for everything that's ever happened.
It's funny how you interrupt me. It's funny how you interrupt me and never let me finish.
Well,
The Dallas Cowboys.
you're about to say, I have a single instance like Jim Brown, which changes everything. And I just don't buy into
The
that.
Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl in 1992, defeated the Buffalo Bills. In 93, Emmitt Smith held out for a contract extension at the start of 1993. He missed the first two games, which Dallas lost miserably. And Jerry said, holy shit, I underestimated and undervalued Emmitt's importance, got him in a long-term deal, back on the field, and the Cowboys went on the run for their second straight Super Bowl.
And you know who benefited?
Saquon Barkley is
you know who benefited from that the most was
thing.
Ezekiel Elliott, who then got $40 million from Jerry
Yes.
because of that,
Well,
that single instance.
no, Ezekiel Elliott got 40 million because of what he brings to the table in that position.
No, but I mean, Jerry gave it to him because of what he went through with Emmitt Smith.
In part.
Okay, that's
In
all
part.
I'm saying. Everything is in part.
So,
But I'm, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you're not going to be the acknowledged expert anymore until you go out and you try to run the A gap on Micah Parsons. Then you can come tell me you're an expert.
I didn't say, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you believe that 10 million is more than he should get, or he should be happy
No,
getting.
I'm
10
telling you, the
million,
market proves that that's the correct amount.
that is not correct.
It's not
amount.
my opinion. It's the market opinion.
The market doesn't have to block Micah Parsons. The market doesn't get tackled by Micah Parsons.
Yeah, but the market can put another running back in immediately who is going to do almost as well.
No, he is not.
And they can pass more.
No, he is not.
Yes.
No, he is not. No, he is not. No, he is not. Laugh if you want. Giant fans, you know what Giant fans know? They know Marlon is right.
Well, you know what? Who was before Pollard?
Ezekiel.
That's right. So
And
when
Pollard,
Ezekiel, so everybody's like, you know, Ezekiel's
Pollard,
old and slow. We need this Pollard guy. So
Pollard,
it just
Pollard,
goes and goes and goes.
Pollard cannot do what Ezekiel did. He's not even close.
It hardly fucking matters. The playbook should change every year, and you should maximize the playbook based
It
on
matters. It matters. It matters. I know you don't understand that from an X's and O's standpoint.
I said that's a byproduct of a dynamic situation where people have different skills. That's all I'm saying. I didn't say it didn't matter.
I could have sworn you just
It
said.
should change every year. You were going to take us out like 4 hours ago.
I know. I know. This is why I hate going into sports, because you've got a lot to learn, my friend. And I'm not saying to be an expert. I'm not saying to be an expert, you got to go put on pads, but to truly understand the value and worth of $10 million as a running back, you don't understand that until you try and stop Micah Parsons in that A gap.
Yeah. Okay.
And you would come back to me and go, holy shit, Marlon, you know what? $10 million ain't enough to do that.
You know what? You're the only person I would accept that from. So, okay. Noted.
I know what I know. I know what I know.
Duly noted.
And the Giants, by the way, play the Dallas Cowboys week 1. So we'll see.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm
We'll
going to
see.
get on the phone. I'm going to call the Giants. I'm going to say, you know, I just came off a podcast. I was talking to my man Marlon. My man Marlon says you are wrong.
They know they're wrong, which is why they're going to trick.
Oh, you mean Marlon Taylor, the one, the only? We're going to change.
Listen.
Ignore market forces and all of the algorithms that we've developed over the past
Let's see how
60 years.
Let's see how well those algorithms and analytics work for them with Saquon not in the backfield. Let's see what kind of wins that translates to.
You know, if you were to say it's better to have Saquon Barkley in the backfield than not, nobody's going to argue that. But if you're going to say that because he's not there, everything just, I would say no. This has happened every year on every team, everywhere.
They are not going to
not
be the
going
same.
to kill the team. There are very
it's not going to kill them, but they're not
actually kill a team, and they're usually quarterbacks.
Their chances of winning the division are diminished greatly without him. That is a fact.
I think that's fair. I think they're diminished 10, 15, 20%. That's a fair statement.
Oh, much more than that. Much
That's
more
a
than
fair
that.
statement. That's a fair statement.
Their chances are diminished with him.
That's with him healthy, which he has not been. So what you're failing to do
He
is you're
was healthy
failing to
last year.
factor in
He
that
was
there's a
healthy?
high probability that Saquon Barkley is going to tear an ACL, break an ankle.
No. He was completely healthy last year at a Pro Bowl year.
He had one good year, people.
He had 2 of the 4.
Every once in a while, you just hand me a gift. Yeah.
He was
50%
hurt.
of the
He
time.
was hurt. If he's not hurt, he has the same
You're
production.
making my point for me.
How's that
They
making your
paid
point?
him. What did they pay him? They probably, what was he? Was he the first choice?
I'm sure he was their number 1 choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was drafted high. So unlike a quarterback but he still probably got like 14 mil. He has probably been paid double digits. So he's probably got 40 mil in the bank already from his first 5 years.
Probably.
Okay. So they've given him, let's say 40 mil. They've given him 20 mil money for nothing. Money for nothing. So he already owes them 20 fucking $million.
See, this
How
is
come
where
he's
we
not
did.
out there
This
bitching
is
about
where.
that?
This is
You
where we.
know, I didn't play for 2 years and they still paid me $20 million.
This is where. This
I
is where.
really think I ought to give that back.
This is where we disconnect. Money
Well, we
for nothing.
disconnect because
Money
that
for
makes no
nothing is
sense.
where. Money for nothing is where you and I disconnect on this.
He wasn't playing and they were paying him. What do you call that?
He was hurt. He was hurt. And how did he get hurt? Playing football.
I dare you to take this out because we're just about this is like the bingo.
We're out of here.
Well, we're
We're
about to
going
go
out.
around
We're
again.
go-
What the
we're
fuck?
going
I don't
out.
want to go around again.
We're going out. We're going out.
I've already
My
made all my
advice-
points in
My advice to you: don't call the Giants. Go call Steve Young.
I have watched Steve Young like you have, and Steve Young says stuff that you're like, okay, Steve, thanks. Next.
Well, he's right on that one.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but
I
he's
used to
still
say-
just
I
a
used-
guy
I
who
said-
plays sports.
In
And there's
taking us
nothing
out,
about playing sports that gives you any keen insights. Yes.
I used to say to my good friend Dallas Taylor all the time, I need to bring Dal on our podcast, and he will tell you, Marlon says this to me endlessly. To all those fans who are making 84,000 up in the stands booing me, take one fucking single snap with live bullets and then come back and talk to me.
All right. Here's the drill. If I take that one snap, I would get credit for playing in a game, correct?
Correct.
I want your salary for that game. So I want $670,000 to take one snap.
And you can tell me if that's worth it after you take.
No, I will. I'll
After
take
you
that one
take
snap.
that shot from Micah Parsons, you come back and tell me if you think.
I'll take that one snap, and Barkley won't get the money. And I can tell you, here's the play-by-play on the snap I took. Oh, he's out there, people. He's going to do it. He's going for the 700 mil or the 700,000. All right. So the snap, the ball to Wilson. Oh, he bobbles it, but what the fuck? Oh, he's running the other way. Oh my God. Parsons is going to catch him. No, he ran out of bounds. He ran out of bounds at the 14, going the other way.
And he still got tackled, and they're taking him off the field in 2 separate stretches. Yeah, you tell me. But he thinks 700,000 was enough for that.
Yeah, but I'm going to run the fastest I've ever run in my life.
And he's leaving on 2 separate stretchers, but he thinks 700,000 was worth it.
I think it was worth it if I can just get glued back together.
Right.
So yeah, I would do it for 700,000.
Uh-huh. I'm taking us out.
You know, technically,
Yes.
you can drop kick the ball at any time.
You're not going to get paid 700,000.
No, you are. If the play stands and it goes as a play in the National Football League.
How long do you think you're going to make 700,000 for drop kicking on every play?
I only need to do it for one play. Your challenge is a one play challenge.
Okay.
So I'm going to drop kick it, which is legal.
Right.
I'm going to drop kick it right out of bounds.
And take your
And the
700
opposing team is going to get the ball where it went out of bounds.
and take your 700 and go home.
I've actually drop kicked goals in rugby, so I know I can do it.
All right. Well, you'll get 700 and you'll have a story to tell.
And I will come back to you and say it was well worth it. These running backs are overpaid. I
Yep.
made $700,000 for doing nothing.
for running like a schoolgirl to avoid contact. That's
I'll
not
wear
what
a
they
tutu.
do.
I
If
don't
you
care. I'll wear a
notice,
tutu.
if you
He's out
notice,
there. What? He has on a tutu.
if you notice, Saquon Barkley doesn't run the other way and he doesn't drop kick.
Now, clearly, that's the reason that he is not accepting the franchise tag, because he's a pussy.
Uh-huh. He is not accepting the franchise tag because he doesn't want to be like Larry Brown and cannot get out of bed at the age of 50. That's why he's not signing his franchise tag.
You know what? Whether he signs it or not is immaterial. He'll still play the same amount.
Not if he doesn't report.
So what you're saying to me is
He
you're
can't
saying,
report without a contract.
you're saying that he's made so much money already because he was the #1 overall draft pick that
No, he wasn't number one overall. He
Chump
wasn't.
change.
He was number one to the Giants, not number one overall. I can't remember where the Giants took him, but he was their first selection in the first round. It wasn't number one overall. That's usually quarterbacks, but he's pretty.
I think that was an anomalous condition.
He was pretty high up. I remember that. But the bottom line is, he knows he has a shelf life. He knows he needs to earn as much as he can before that expiration date. That's what this is all about. And the Giants front office has a mindset like you. We can get anybody.
Yes, they would have a mindset like me. I'm going to be maximizing.
And they're going to rudely find out what
I would
Jerry
love
found.
to be a football owner.
And they're going to rudely find out what Jerry found out, that there isn't a multitude of Emmitt Smiths. There's only one Emmitt Smith, and we need to get him back on the football field. The Giants are going to go through that. There's not a dozen. There's not a dozen.
What you just did, though? You just did it again. Who is the NFL rushing leader?
Emmitt Smith.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a point, and I'm going to take the NFL rushing leader, the one and only Emmitt Smith, who is acknowledged to be the leader, and I'm going to use him as my example. He's not a good example. He is the #1 rushing leader of all fucking time.
He wasn't that when he held out. Was he the all-time rushing leader when he held out? No.
What spot was Saquon Barkley drafted in?
I noticed how you quickly evaded that point.
My point was valid. You took second
Emmitt
overall
Smith.
pick. It was the second overall pick in 2018.
Emmitt Smith was not the NFL rushing leader when he held out.
That is a fair statement. However, it is demonstrated by history that he is the outlier. It's irrespective of what he was at that point. He is still the outlier.
Why is he an outlier?
Because he is the NFL rushing leader.
And there's no other Emmitt Smith, just like there's no other Saquon Barkley.
No, there is another Saquon Barkley. His name is Emmitt Smith, right? Is that the point you're making? You're saying Saquon is just like Emmitt, because if Saquon plays for the Giants, then they will make the playoffs. If he doesn't play, they won't make the playoffs.
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying that Saquon Barkley is as good as Emmitt Smith?
No, I am saying that he is as important.
His value to the team is as great in this role.
Yes.
I would not argue that. That's a fair statement, but I'm still maintaining that Emmitt Smith is not a good example of anything, especially at a position where running backs are a dime a dozen.
Running backs have always been a dime a dozen.
That's the point I'm making, and that's why they're only at 10.1 million on the franchise tag.
When Emmitt Smith
keep making my point for me accidentally.
No. You're twisting the language to make your point. When
running backs are a dime a dozen.
When Emmitt Smith came off the when Emmitt Smith came off the field, the Cowboys lost.
That's correct. And he was also the #1 rushing leader of all time.
Not when he came off the field.
It's immaterial. His skill
No,
level
it's
was
not
consistent
immaterial.
with the #1 rushing leader of all time. If you're saying that
He
Saquon
was
Barkley is
no-
operating at that level and you can guarantee it and that he will play more than 50% of the time, in other words, if you can see the future, then yeah, maybe they could offer more.
Here's the future.
I also have a question for you.
Yes.
That exclusive franchise tag of 10.1 million, that was available to Pollard, Johnson, and Barkley.
Jacobs and Barkley.
Thank you very much.
Jacobs.
So the team does not make the decision about the amount. The only decision that the team could have made was the amount for the long-term contract.
Correct.
Correct.
The
So,
amount.
looking at the 10.1 million, it's unrelated to the Giants. It's the league number for that.
It's the average top 5 salaries. So you take the top 5 salaries for that position and average it out, and that's what the franchise offer
That's
is.
the market right there. Yeah, that makes everything, all of this
Correct.
makes perfect sense to me. I disagree with Steve Young.
Okay. Well, will you come back and talk to me after you block Micah Parsons? It's been a blast
I
today.
wouldn't block Micah Parsons. I'd try to run him over.
And
But you know what? I would have the skills of a Saquon Barkley, so I'd just jump over his raggedy ass.
And at the next family reunion, they would have your head in one part of the thing. Here's JD's head over here. His torso's over here. And what's left of his legs are over here.
So I'm in 3 parts now.
Yes. But
All right,
he has
take us out because I'm going to
But
be.
he has $700,000. So
Yeah. Well, my wife would get 700,000.
right.
That's all I want to do is get her the money.
Right.
I would commit harakiri if I could just get her enough money.
It's been I'm glad we went there today to talk about that because that got the fire going. And it's something other than the indictment. We will see what happens with the indictment. Stay tuned. We'll have follow-up discussions this week on he's not going to jail. He's not going to jail. And I'm not going to go down that road now because we're going
And you
out.
know what? There's not going to be a civil war. You know why? You know why? Because white people are fucking pussies and we're not going to do anything. We're just going to grouse about it.
38% might do something.
No, especially that 38%. You know what? If one of those good old boys started chasing your raggedy ass, I mean, it's like everything else. It's on a bell curve. They eat poorly. They drink substantial amounts. They're inflamed. Their C-reactive protein count is high. Their blood pressure is high. Their resting pulse rate is high. They wouldn't be able to do a goddamn thing without a gun. The only way they can do something is with a goddamn gun and a vehicle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you saw one coming from a half mile away, you'd be like, oh, okay. And you just start running and they could never fucking catch you. I mean, they might be able to eventually if you had to sleep. But they don't want to go out and actually exert themselves and spend money. I mean, they'll go to like
They are spending money.
they're among friends and give
they're victims of grifting. They're spending money left and right to this clown.
but the point I'm making is that
We need to go.
we only had a few people who fucking came to DC. If this is a country of 330 million and they had 10,000 in DC, that's fucking chump change. He busted his ass for 4 years. He got 70 odd million people to vote for him, and only 10,000 of them showed up here. And of those 10,000, only about 6,000 actually crossed the threshold, went up the fucking stairs. So that's 6,000. If you divide it by states, that's 300 per state. That's not much.
It was almost enough to overturn democracy, but thank God it didn't. We will pick up this conversation because I didn't get to talk to you about Ron DeSantis and the fact that his campaign is going down like a fucking lead balloon.
But we called that way back when. So
yeah, we did.
It's not really meaningful.
But it's meaningful because it's becoming reality.
Yeah, I predicted.
When we called it, it was hypothetical or projected.
Yeah, I projected Christie would eventually test the waters. I said Christie's going to be the first to test the waters. He's going to get some ambivalence. And it actually happened. He had people cheering and people booing at the same time.
Yeah.
So people are going to start to kind of drift toward Chris Christie, this.
No, they won't. No, they won't. No, they won't. Because we know what he is.
What is he? Seriously, what is he?
He's a Trumper.
He's a what?
He's a Trumper. He still supported him. He would support him if
He's not a Trumper. There.
Do you think Chris
Christie's
Christie?
not a Trumper?
Do you think he is not? Do you think he is not?
I would not let Trump walk my dog.
Do you think he is not going to support him if he's the Republican nominee? Come on, man. You're smarter than that, dude.
Oh, no. They'll support the Republican. It's either that or Joe Biden. That's not meaningful. Okay, 6,000 people stormed the Capitol.
What the
Over 50
fuck are
states.
you
Guess how many
talking
per
about?
state that is?
What are you
That's
talking about?
120 people per state. You've got more zip codes, so that's one per zip code.
What are you
You
talking
got
about?
one person per zip code. They're not going to do a goddamn.
How is Chris Christie not supporting him meaningful?
Chris Christie's not supporting Trump.
If
He's running
Trump,
against him.
if Trump is the Republican nominee, he is going to support him.
Oh yeah. I'm okay with that.
Then that makes him a tub of shit that he is.
No, it just makes him a fucking Republican.
Trumper. If you're
You know what?
supporting him, you're a Trumper.
Can I say something? I think you just actually made me realize something.
What's that?
I, in fact, along with everybody else, was going along talking about Trumpers and MAGAs, right?
Right?
Okay, so I just realized when you did this Chris Christie riff, I was like, he's a Republican.
Right?
The party, the Republican Party is MAGA, is Trump.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
What do you mean, thank you? But what I'm saying is that we're in agreement, but I won't be surprised if Christie supports Trump because every single one of these fucking Republicans is a sympathizer, a fascist sympathizer.
An enabler. An enabler. Not a sympathizer.
They don't have to be
enabler.
MAGA or Trumpsters. They are, all Trumpster is the vessel. And if they lose Trump, they will still have the same desires, which may or may not manifest to another person the same way.
They won't. They won't.
They won't. Are you going to take us out? Or are we just going to?
We're out. We're out of here. We're out. We're so overdue to go out. But
you know, it's probably hard for people to believe is
what?
now that we record these, it substantially shortens them.
Yes.
We used to just talk. We used to work and talk at the same time.
Yes. Yes. And speaking of work, Good Karma came to visit me, so I'm going out on that. You know what it is. I'm not gonna announce it. Just gonna tell people Karma is a you know what, and Good Karma came back on me this week, and it feels good.
It couldn't happen to a more deserving person.
It feels good. Thank you, sir. We're out of here. We're on where are we? We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube.
Where?
We're on Spoutable. We're in Steve Young's favorite podcast list. Find us, like
We're
us,
nowhere.
hate us. We're nowhere.
And
Most
I'm
of
proud
all,
of them.
subscribe to us. We got some new subscribers coming. You're going to be surprised.
I will.
Thank you. We're headed out.
All right,
And we'll
bud.
catch everybody on the dark side of the moon another time.
Take us out.
We're out.
Boink.
We're overdue and out.
All right, bud.
All right, partner. Good one.